The video, in which examines the memories the children have of their parents, also emphasizes how important these memories are as they induce questions and curiosity that the child searches for in development. This development is known as identity formation, which is defined as the formation of the distinct personality of an individual, allowing them to find and express their uniqueness and finding their intended affiliation within society. A literature review on identity formation points out that parental and familial interactions influence status of identity development through teachings of morality and traditions that make up the basis of a person's identity. However, how does this change when a parent is deceased? Angela Nickerson, a clinical psychologist, looked into this question by observing the situation at the root, the role the family plays in this social identity development for the individual child. For her study, Nickerson and her colleagues analyzed data from 2,823 adults who had all experienced the death of a parent during childhood. They used the World Health Organizational Composite International Diagnostic Interview to assess psychological impairment, parental care, and other factors that could contribute to difficulties later in life. They found that the younger a child was at the time of the loss, the more likely they were to develop mental health problems, including anxiety, mood, or substance abuse issues. These factors introduce perspectives that take focus away from the experience of the death and makes caregiving methods and the way the individual deals with the loss be a greater factor in influencing their personality. The first perspective is a popular view used in general psychology. When addressing an individual's development, from physiological to social, we examine Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Then we take child X as an example. Child X may have their physiological needs met, such as water and oxygen, but due to the loss of a parent, their needs will fluctuate, leaving them emotionally stagnant and either feeling unsafe, lacking emotional support, inducing isolation, or diminishing their self-esteem, making it nearly impossible to achieve self-actualization. The second perspective regarding caregiving is the transitional events model, which can be correlated to psychologist James Marcia's argument on identity. In his theory, there are two distinct parts of an adolescent's identity: crisis and commitment. Isabel Ann Richardson, 12 years old, is an example of the identity crisis, as she hanged herself after her mother lost her battle with breast cancer. Before her death, Isabel's father reached out to her school for psychological help, but there had not been any measures taken to help and assure Isabel, leaving her in a state of fear and anxiety. As I examine both methods, it seems as though the two compare as frameworks to determine the predictable outcomes of an individual as a result of childhood bereavement. However, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a method used for compressed and set outcomes that comes from basic reactions to trauma and death, such as substance abuse and emotional instability. Also, it seems as though this method correlates to the way the child is brought up after the event. In contrast, the second model seems more broad and optimistic, observing not only children who were negatively impacted by the event, but also the children who perceive the death as a positive and motivational experience, as it can be concluded that they live in admiration of their parent. In contrast, representing commitment is the support group Common Ground for children and teens who have lost their parents.